What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back today with more Danmachi. Guys, you know we got a banner incoming tonight. We got 2 new banners incoming tonight. And I did talk about these a bit yesterday, but let's kind of go a little bit deeper today. So we got passives, we got, I think I skipped a couple essays and things like that. And we'll talk about usefulness and how you should approach these banners going into tonight, because, well, let's just jump into it, okay? So, kicking it off, of course, this is going to be banner number 1. We got Alise, who I already think is absolutely worth. Riveria, who also is really, really, really good. And then Osvi, who, man, as I said yesterday, if Hestia was on this banner, it'd be a no-brainer. This banner and this banner alone. So they know what they're doing. Like, Osvi is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But those 3 are really, like, the 3 that are worthwhile on these 2 banners. So, let's talk about Alise real quick, because Alise is probably, if not the craziest unit here, pretty damn close. Like, Alise is going to be a absolutely mandatory, crazy, bonkers, nuts unit for the Record Buster that we have incoming tonight, even though she is predominantly AoE. But first, before we get to that, let's talk about what she does. 3845 HP isn't the end of the world, but it is actually really good. 2113 for physical stat is phenomenal. 289 for MP isn't, anything to really write home about, nor is 567 endurance. 817 dex is probably about average, and 1192 agility is really, really, really good. Once again, though, I don't think it's like, groundbreaking at this point, but it is really good. She's going to be a speedy, fast, amazing unit. Now, let's talk about how she's built, because her skill 3, I think, is going to be the biggest single hit in this whole game, with one possible minor exception. So, let's go. Okay? So, skill 1, 49 MP cost, foes plural. Remember I said she's a Record Buster unit, but she is AoE. This is what I talk about when I say I like units with a lot of utility. She'll be great in Wargame, she'll be great in Record Buster, she'll be great all the way around. If you do not get the size, you're missing out on an absolutely amazing, phenomenal unit. I like her a lot. And I say that as someone who's like, I might not even have the team to build her quite yet, but it's coming down the pike at some point very, very soon. And I think she's going to be really stellar for quite a bit of time. To be fair, the only unit that she's an amalgam to right now, I did say that about, and then they kind of immediately were like, okay, put her to the side. She's way too good. And she still has not had an equal in the game. And that, I'm talking about the Lingerie Tiona. She's busted in every possible way, but there's a rare, rare, rare opportunity to use her. So while I sit here and gush about Alise, I gotta be real and say they might just kind of be like, okay, this is a bit much, and push her to the side after this. But let's talk about it, okay? Skill 1, 49 MP cost, foes, plural, slow, low, fire, physical attack with ultra uncounter rate. Both of them are fire, by the way, so they might work together. Keep that in mind. Fire team, I think, just got nuts. With ultra uncounter rate, and agility and fire resist down 35%. Remember, that's the debuff for your foes. They're going to take your agility down and their fire resistance down. So that's going to be really nice. AoE damage and single target damage taken plus 25%. So that's really nice. All damage that she's going to produce will be 25% harder. That's really good. And all of that is for 4 turns. And allies extend status buffs by 3 turns. So, every buff that your allies have in your team, she's like, cool, I've just eviscerated the team. Boom! Have a few extra turns of everything that you're doing. What's not to love? That's a great skill. That's a fantastic skill. She's going to make everybody hit harder. She's going to take the opponent down a peg. And she's going to be like, have a few extra turns on me. Like, a really stellar unit. And that's just skill 1, and I haven't even gotten to the best one. Skill 2 is a 68 MP cost. A little pricey for the amount of MP she's got, but once again, not end of the world stuff. Foes, plural, fast mid-fire physical attack with ultra penetration rate and temporary strength boost, and self, strength, agility, and fire attack damage 60% for 5 turns. Not end of the world stuff, but still really, really stellar. Now, also does a foes plural, remove strength, magic, and physical resistance buffs. So, skill 2 will remove their strength, magic, and physical resistance buffs, which basically is just going to take them down a peg once again. Here's the problem. You kind of need those buffs for skill 3, so you have to wait for them to rebuff themselves, okay? So, that is kind of a bad thing. But, here comes skill 3. This is the big dog, okay? 46 MP cost, which I think is cheap for what this is. Foe singular. It is a single target attack. Super fire physical attack with ultra penetration rate. Skill damage plus 100%. Now count them. 100% per. Get back to it here. 100% per strength, magic, and physical resistance buff. All those things you just removed in skill 2, unfortunately. 100%, 200%, 300% damage. If all of those are buffed, which Finn will most likely do tonight. So you're talking a 300% hit on skill 3. That's nuts. That's bonkers. Super bonkers. Then we'll remove those buffs, unfortunately. So it's not like you can spam skill 3. She's going to come in, and she's going to go, cool! Boom! Take those buffs away, but leave you, I mean, reeling. That is going to be a stellar hit. The downside is if you use skill 2 and you remove those buffs, you can't use skill 3 immediately. So there's going to be a few turns where you kind of have to mess around, use skill 1 or whatnot. So the build's probably be like 2-1-3 or something like that. It's going to be a weird build, but nevertheless, I cannot wait to try her in battle. Now, I did say there's only one real amalgam to her in the game right now, and that is the Fire Tiona. The more I think about the Fire Tiona on her skill 3, she does 120% per strength and magic buff. But she does 120. She does 150% on her SA. So, Alise hits for 300%. Tiona hits for 300%. The only difference is Tiona does it on her SA. So, she probably hits a little bit harder. But Alise is still nothing to be trifled with. And that also means if you're using Tiona, you probably want to use her SA and then use Alise after her. So your build would probably be, if I'm just gathering and just guessing here, you're probably going to have Haruhime, and then I think it's the Wealth that does the 100% fire damage. Or if you have the Aisha that does it, her, then Lingerie Tiona, and then this Alise. And I'd have to really tweak that team. I don't think Tiona's SA removes that, but basically do a triple SA, and then Alise comes in and goes boom. Because Alise's SA is interesting, but I don't think it's end of the world stuff. It isn't. Her SA is a foes plural, ultra fire physical attack with ultra penetration rate, skill damage plus 60% per strength, magic, and fire resistance buff, and removes those buffs. I honestly think, personally, if her SA is a waste, her SA and her skill 3 should be reversed, frankly. Personally. But it is what it is. The fact that you're going to be able to use that S3 whatever the hell you want to really kind of makes her a dangerous opponent. The downside to that, though, then becomes when those buffs are removed, you got to go a few turns before you can use that again because her attack isn't going to be nearly as potent. But she is going to be a dangerous foe in this upcoming event. I don't think Tiona's SA, I could be on, someone probably will correct me in the comments and tell me I'm dead wrong in this, but I don't think Tiona's SA removes it. I think it's her skill 3 that removes the strength and magic buffs, but I could be wrong on that. I'm sure I'm going to get corrected in the comments. But neither here nor there. I'm operating off memory of a unit that I haven't used in a year, because I was like, oh, this unit's amazing, and then they were like, yeah, no, we got to hold this one back. So, it is what it is. I will be ecstatic to see these two used together. I'm gonna do my best to make that happen, especially tonight's Record Busters. So we've got a video incoming on that bad boy. But let's get back to eyes. Passives. Sorry, I'm really, if you can't tell, I'm excited for this. just a wee bit excited for it. Passive skills. 35% wind resist. Counters are fire physical attack. 35% strength, agility, and dex. So she's going to get even more of all those skills. 50% counter damage. That's an insane counter buff. 25% damage on critical and penetration. And she's a material killer. And you guys know that our incoming Familia Rush next week is going to have material units in it. That's one of the kind of leaks, I guess you could say, that we got yesterday in the live stream / news. So, get her. She's going to be nuts. This unit is going to be absolutely stellar. And I think, unlike the Tiona unit that I used like once or twice and then had to unfortunately retire a little bit, I think she's going to be good for quite a bit of time. She'll be good in Wargame. She'll be good in Record Buster. They will have to do a lot to prevent her from being basically the new water team, like by herself. You're talking about a one-woman army. Frickin' nuts. Love her. You want her. If you skip this banner, you are missing out. Also on that banner is the new Riveria, who I think we all can agree is pretty bonkers as well. Okay? Dreamful Elf Riveria. I guess she's, so maybe she's the editor, or she's the, I don't know, is she the chief at the, I don't know, we'll figure out her role. I don't know. She's got the badge, so she works at the publication company. So, yeah, little did you know, Riveria works for Jump. Who knew? Who knew? I guess it's probably, I don't know, where is Danmachi published? I mean, obviously light novels, but where's the manga published? I have no idea. I mean, it wouldn't be a Jump story by any stretch, but where would it? I don't know. Shows how much I pay attention. I read the light novels and I watch the anime. I haven't paid attention to the manga, which is probably I'm a fake fan, apparently, I guess. Riveria, let's move on. Skill 1. 35 MP cost, foe singular, so she's a single target unit. Foe singular, high wind magic attack with ultra penetration rate, removes strength and magic buffs. So, right out of the gate, she's got buff removal right there in her skill 1. Skill 2. Foes plural. I forgot, she's actually built upside down. She's one of those 3-2-1 units. It's a bit weird. Skill 2 is an 84 MP cost, foes plural, fast, super high wind magic attack with ultra and counter rate and heal rate down 50%. I love those heal debuffs on Wargames units. Make that stall team work for it. Magic resistance down 30%. All of that is down for 4 turns and 3 additional actions. Foes plural, mid-wind magic attack with ultra and guard rate. So you're not going to be able to guard those extra attacks, and they're mid, so that's going to be kind of nice. The attacks mid, but in this case, mid is good. Man, what's going to be like when we finally get like high-level attacks out of these subsequent attacks? That's going to be bonkers. Jeez. Skill 3, 187 MP cost, so you're only going to get like 1 or 2 of these. Unless you have MP heal, which I think we just generally have nowadays so much of. You can probably spam this. Is an all allies, fast, physical null ×1, magic and wind attack damage plus 40%. So just going to give everybody magic and wind attack damage if you have a wind team. That's only for 1 turn, so you got to have some buff replication on there. So she's basically like a 2-3-1 build. Skill 2, skill 2, 3, and then skill 1. But skill 2 is kind of optional because it is this allies buff skill. So null physical attack ×1, magic and wind attack damage plus 40% for 1 turn, agility plus 35% for 2 turns, and foes plural agility down 35% for 2 turns. So she's all about speeding up your units to give you a little bit of a buff. You probably aren't going to use this terribly often, but it's going to be like a mid-turn attack, or if you're running like a wind team in Wargame, it's just going to help them out. But you're probably like in Wargame, it'd be like 2-3-1. If 1 even becomes active, it's probably just like 2 and then 3 and then spam 2 again. It is what it is. But that physical null is going to be pretty damn important. I like that a lot. And her SA is an ultra wind magic attack with ultra guard rate, skill damage plus 80%. So this is where she gets nutty. An 80% attack per foe singular. I'm guessing for every unit on the team that has a magic resistance debuff and allies magic and wind attack damage 80%. So every unit that has a magic resistance debuff, she's going to hit that unit for 80% damage. We already know how much damage that can produce. Go take a look at the Water Aisha for any kind of indication of how big that skill is. This is an AoE attack that hits like a single target attack. It's going to be painful. She's really good, and you want this Riveria. It's hard for me to say you want her over the Eyes, because I'm sorry, Eyes is just so good. But Riveria is really stellar too. I mean, absolutely stellar. Plus, she's going to buff magic and wind attack damage 80% once she gets all of that. But to be fair, you most likely are already running somebody that's going to give magic and wind attack. She's just basically there to get that 80% hit. And the nice part is, if anybody doesn't have that buff, then they get that buff. 80% damage modifier is nothing. Nothing to trifle about. It is a really good hit. Now, the only downside is it is per magic resistance debuff, but it's only hits once. And the more I think about it, I think Aisha's is per 2, so I think yours is 160%. But the one thing to bear in mind here, if you've done magic resistance debuffing on the adventure side and the assist side, so you debuff magic resistance on the assist side and then the adventure side, it still hits for the 160. So once again, I will say she is going to be crazy good. Crazy good. Passives. 35% earth resistance. Regular attacks and counters are wind magic attack. 35% magic agility and dex. 20% magic resistance and physical resistance. 8% HP and MP regen per turn. I like that a lot. And a material killer. You're going to want her. That's why I say this banner is so flippin' good. But let's talk real quick about Osvi. Because of the 2 assists, I like Hestia more. But I don't think Osvi really is a bad assist. I just kind of like meh. And maybe that's just me being meh compared to the other units we've gotten. But I'm just not enamored with her as such. Now, I will say this. HP is really good. Over 1,000 is never a bad HP stat. And 1,010 is respectable. Not end of the world stuff, but respectable. Her magic attack, on the other hand, 648, is really stellar. But because of that, her physical stat and her agility stat both kind of suffer a bit. So she's not a speedy unit, but she will bolster your magic attack, and she's going to give whoever she's tied to enough HP that they're going to be, pretty happy. Pretty happy. But her skill. When she's maxed on the broken, all allies magic and dex plus 20%, which will probably go down to about 15% when she's at level 80. Slow resist 100%, and add 3 instant effects. This is where she gets really good. 3 instant effects. When attacked, with a physical attack, has to be a physical attack, cannot be a magic attack, has to be a physical attack. She gives all allies physical resistance plus 40% for 2 turns. That can only happen once per turn. But that means that every single the first physical hit of that turn, bam, everybody suddenly gets a big buff. Turn 2, first physical hit of that turn. Bam, everybody gets a big buff. Turn 3, first physical hit of that turn. Bam, everybody gets a big buff. If there's ever a turn where you only get hit with a magic attack, you don't get hit with a physical attack, then she gets, she saves up those buffs. So she can use for turn 4, turn 5, turn whatever. But basically, the first 3 physical attacks in the first 3 turns that a physical attack happens, she's going to buff that physical resistance. The fact that happens for 2 turns means if they only take a physical damage attack on turn 1, the rest of turn 1 and turn 2, they have that big resistance buff. Get hit on turn 3, turn 4, they have it again. They get hit on turn 5, turn 6, they have it again. After that, turn 7. How often does that go into turn 7? But in most situations, you're going to be like, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and then it's going to go into turn 4. So realistically, that's kind of the expectation. But In theory, you could go to turn 6. Not likely, though. So, I do like Osvi. I think she's really good. I adore the fact that she's got this tanking in her. And absolutely, because this banner is so stellar, a lot of you guys are going to get a lot of these Osvis. And be proud. Like, she's a good unit. But in my opinion, my honest opinion, I think Hestia is just a better assist. First, though, let's talk about Leafia, okay? Now, I don't want to downplay, like, this banner too much. I just want to say, like, if you have to pick between them, the other banner is significantly better. Significantly better, okay? 3647 HP is about what we'd expect from a magic unit. 2002 magic attack is a really good magic attack. 1149 for agility is pretty respectable. 495 for endurance is about what we would expect. So she's just kind of like middle of the road. She's a speedy unit, but she's not, especially hard hitting in comparison to, other magic units we've gotten. She's not especially tanky. She's, kind of par of the course with maybe a little bit more speed. But even then, like, these speed skills are, the agility skills are getting to be about on that level. Skill 1 for Leafia is a 59 MP cost, foes plural, fast, high fire magic attack with ultra on counter rate, and extend status debuffs. Now, here's the deal. Remember we talked about eyes, extended status buffs. Leafia extends status debuffs by 3 turns in self-critical rate and fire attack damage plus 70%. So she's a great partner for eyes. Don't get me wrong, a phenomenal partner for eyes. And then this day and age, I think there's enough units that do this. Sorry about that. I know I gushed about Eyes doing it, but Eyes does so much. Let's see if maybe Leafia can win me over, though, because maybe I'm just being a bit too harsh on Leafia. Skill 2 is a 59 MP cost. Foes plural, fast. Strength, magic, and seal resistance down 40%. So, remember we talked about this. There's a lot of units now that give 100% ailment resistance. Hestia. So, the fact that she's going to reduce that seal resistance means she has a 40% chance to seal, even if you have 100% resistance. I'm just saying. Now, obviously you can still run the anklet and all that stuff. You could really buff your seal resistance to the moon if you see this unit coming a mile away. But most of the time you're probably not going to do that. So, that seal resistance debuff is kind of interesting. Then she gives herself magic agility, physical resistance, and magic resistance plus 60%. So she actually does become a tank. So you can kind of take that endurance stat and that HP stat and really multiply that quite a bit. It's going to be really good. So once she gets turn 2 off, she actually does kind of become the equivalent of a magic tank. We really don't have a whole lot of those in the game. Is she going to be end of the world stuff? Probably not. But for a largely ailment unit, these are good stats. So if you do wind up chasing Leafia, you're going to have a good unit on your hands. But here's the expectation. She is a wargame unit. And how much use are you going to get out of her in wargame? She's mostly there as an ailment to apply sleep. Now, she is still going to hit really well. Don't get me wrong on that. Great addition to the fire team. Magic unit. Going to have a lot of tankiness to her. But you got to get skill 2 up to make that happen. Basically, you got to do skill 2 and then skill 1. Or if you do skill 1, she's going to get the hits. But she's got to survive skill 1 to get to skill 2. So, there is a bit of some finagling you've got to do to make her amazing. She also on her second skill, I forgot about this, she gets 3 additional actions, foes plural, low fire physical attack with 30% seal. Now remember, she debuffs seal. But with 30%, it's not going to break through that wall terribly often. But it is a secondary attack. So, maybe. Skill 3 is a 34 MP cost, foe singular high fire magic attack with ultra and guard rate. Skill damage plus 150% if target is sealed. That's a big if, and you're not going to have that very often at all. That's kind of exclusive to Wargame, and even then it's unless we're able to, like, the only time I could see this being, like, groundbreaking is if in the upcoming Familia Rush, if we're able to actually seal the opponent, but that's never the case. So, I don't know. SA is a foe's plural Ultra Fire magic attack with Ultra on guard rate, temporary grant magic boost, removes status buffs, so removes all those status buffs she hits with when she hits. So basically every status buff is gone. She just goes, bye. So I like that a lot. She'll be a good one for Wargame if you can build her out. But I'm just not completely sold. I'm like very 50-50 on her. She could be good in the right hands, but I don't know if I want to put in the effort to use her when we've gotten, literally like 3 units that form like an amazing brick wall, and then all they need is a healer to just stall their way all the way to the end of Wargame. To be fair, though, if you're talking Familia Wargame, you don't really want to stall like that because that costs you points. So, depending. Unless you're up against a team that completely outclasses you, that actually might be a tactic just to, prevent them from getting points. But for now, I'm still not completely sold. And I want to hear definitely in the comment section your perception of this unit, because I'm like, I want to love her, but I don't see it. I don't simply see it. Let's move on to talk about Belle. Now, stat-wise, almost went into the skills immediately. Stat-wise, 3721 ain't really that great, especially not for a physical unit. 2107 is pretty respectable for a physical unit. 681 for endurance is really good, so he's going to be able to tank a few hits. 1039 isn't the end of the world, nor is 790. I think he's very middle of the road. He's like, if you want to say a unit is mid, I would say everything but his strength stat is just kind of mid. It's kind of like the expectation. And that's not to say he's bad. It's just to say he's just not blowing me away in his stats. Now, skill 1 is a 34 MP cost, foe singular, fast, physical resistance down 40% for 4 turns, and self, strength 80% for 4 turns, with 3 additional actions, foe singular, mid-wind physical attack. So he's going to be a single target, single target record buster unit. Now the decision here is tonight's record buster going to favor fire or wind, or both? Maybe it's just going to be physical, which has been the case before. So he's got a good skill there, So the physical resist down 40% is nice. We have plenty of units that do that, though. Strength 80% means he's going to hit pretty good. Skill 2, 49 MP cost, foe singular, high wind physical attack with high penetration rate, temporary strength boost, strength, magic, and penetration rate down 40%. I like that. And allies wind resistance damage, wind attack damage plus 50%. So that's a good AoE, all allies buff. So giving all allies 50% wind damage is nice. So if anybody doesn't have wind damage on the team, that's a really good skill. And it's enough to make him do respectably. But remember when I said he's mid? He's not going to be groundbreaking. His damage is not going to be just out of this world. Until we get, SAs and whatnot, he's just not going to be there for me. Foe singular, skill 3 is a foe singular. Doesn't give me an MP cost in this one, sadly. Foe singular, super wind physical attack with ultra on guard rate, temporary great strength boost, and extends status debuffs, and ally status buffs by 1 turn. No percentage boost there. Belle mid. Belle just underwhelming in every possible way. SA. Foe singular, ultra wind physical attack with ultra critical rate, skill damage plus 90% per foe penetration rate debuff. Let's be honest, you're never going to debuff that on the assist side, so that's just going to be 90%. You could, in theory, maybe build that into your team, but odds are pretty good you won't. So while it could be 180%, it's probably not. Allies will give allies strength plus 100% for 3 turns. So that is one really good thing that he does. So his SA is actually kind of respectable. I like his SA, and I'm not mad about it. But here's the deal. Isn't enough to save the unit. Belle mid. Sorry, guys. Belle mid. Passive skills are Fast Growth, Null Charm, Earth Resistance 35%, counters or win physical attack, 30% all stats, 25% damage on critical, and he's a material killer. Belle just kind of underwhelming. Now, I cannot say that about Hestia, so let's jump into her stats. Because, remember, I always say that they either go into HP or they go into agility. Now, I already did kind of say 1,000 HP is getting to be the norm, but it definitely, overarchingly, is not. So, having 1,000 HP and 600 agility means they basically put a good amount of effort into each stat. Now, to be fair, one of the two of these, probably both, in fact, will within the next 6 months or so kind of become the normal skill for these guys. We're going to kind of start seeing 1,200 plus HP, like we do on the free-to-play unit, and we'll see like 700, 800 plus agility on these assists. But right now, as far as the realm of where she's at, I think she's kind of like the leading edge of what we're going to be seeing there. But the fact they went in on both those stats is really good. Now, because of that, physical and magic kind of suffer, but for what she gets in agility and HP, I will 100% forgive that. She is a really good unit just from a stats perspective. But, skill-wise, foes plural shorten physical resistance and magic resistance buffs by 6 turns. So I talked about this a little bit yesterday. The way you're going to have to use this unit, basically in Wargame, you're going to put somebody in the front and you're going to nerf that unit. We have plenty of items in the game that nerf units down, basically the equivalent of a level 1. Nerf that unit that's in the front slot, have them do like an ailment or something like that. They do some kind of effect on the team. And then, first hit, bam, in comes whoever you need that, is going to have such and such an effect for your team. But then in comes Hestia with that unit, and then she's going to hit everybody so that every buff they got on that turn is nullified. So, the downside of that is if she comes in too quickly, then it kind of wastes her turn. If she comes in turn 2, you kind of miss the mark a little bit on that one too. So really, you don't want to take their HP down to 0, but you want their HP to be less than 1,000, or maybe right at 1,000. So when Hestia walks in, or when those unit, when the sack unit kind of goes away, the primary unit or the new unit in slot 5 walks in, Hestia kind of goes bam, and all those buffs are gone, and then they walk into turn 2 and they go, what happened? And then they're just caught with their pants around their ankles. This is going to be a really good skill. But not only that, you got to use it right. I will say there is going to be some skill and some finagling to make her work. But for what she does, she's amazing. On top of that, she was ailment resistance, 100% and agility plus 200%. Now that agility, great stat. You always want agility in Wargame. Wargame is all about speed, and giving everybody 20% agility means if there's not already an agility buff on your team, come in that turn 2, Hestia comes in, wipes out everybody's buffs. Whoever you've got on the front line, as fast as they were before, they're even faster now. You're probably getting the first few hits off, and you're talking about a turn 2 possible, just kill. Possible just, wipe them out. Because remember, the physical and magic resistance buffs are gone. So whoever you've got hitting on that turn is just going to annihilate the team. If you've got a good hitter there, they are going to completely crater that team. And it's going to be amazing. Hestia is really good. And the best part about her is she gives herself, whoever she's tied to, I guess I should say, 100% ailment resistance. This is the 4th or 5th unit. 4th or 5th unit that has 100% ailment resistance. So that means if you really wanted to build a team that was nigh impervious to ailment, you could literally put 100% ailment resistance on every unit on your team. Now here's the kind of downside to this. That ailment resistance can still be debuffed a bit. So when they do debuff, the Leafia comes in and debuffs sleep resistance by 40%, they can still hit you with sleep. It just becomes exceptionally hard, but they can do it. So you need to make sure that you are aware of those things. But, and I do say big but, the amount that she is going to make that difficult on the ailment teams is completely worthwhile. And you could build an ailment breaker team right now. So going into the next war game, you could, or under Telskira, you could build a completely anti-ailment team that walks in there, sees an ailment team, and goes, yeah, bring it. We got this. And We've never, ever, ever, ever been in that situation where you could just build a completely, like, ailment-proof team. I was going to say an ailment-resistant team. Because, once again, it's not ailment-proof, but it is extremely ailment-resistant. This is phenomenal. This is huge. Like, massive. So, guys, I like her. Here's my strategy. Here's where I'm going. I'm going to be hitting banner number 1. I'm going to be hitting this banner right here. Going all in on this banner. Then I'm going to buy the ticket, the 300 paid Irish ticket. And I'm going to kind of hedge my bets on the fact that I might get the Hestia. I have a 1 in 6 chance of getting the Hestia. If I don't get her, I might actually wail and grab her. That's my strategy. I think I'm going to leave this banner alone. I know Leafia could be great, but I don't see a build for her on my team. I really see Eyes and that Fire Tiona. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I really got to like fart around with that team and see if it'll work out. But I really see Eyes and Fire Tiona being like the power couple from hell. Especially considering they're fiery. I guess it depends on which circle of hell you're talking about. I digress. I want her. I'm going to basically wail for her. And then if I get her, great. If I don't, like, comment, share. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Skip. If you skip this one, though, you're going to hate life. See you guys tonight for the live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern.